Good morning. Good morning, everybody. What a freaking day. Dude, last night was nuts. For anyone who does not know, who didn't read the title of the video, SBF was arrested, and there is some crazy details we're going to be talking about later in the show. Make sure you stay tuned throughout the entire hour because you don't want to miss it. But the bigger news for today, the CPI numbers are in and they're lower than expected. In case you haven't looked at a chart, we're going to do that here in just a little bit, but the charts are pumping. And here's what's really important. This is the really good news. People are asking over on Twitter, all right, we're pumping. What does this mean? Well, on Bitcoin, we just broke through a massive level of resistance, and I'll talk more about that when we do some Bitcoin technical analysis, but the bulls look to have some control. And again, not going to say this absolutely means the bottom is in. We absolutely could have something else happen that sends us back down, but we're going to talk more about why that's so significant in another point in the category of assuming maybe Bitcoin's bottom is in. We'll talk about that and a lot more in this show. Thank you so much, everybody who's joining us. If this is your first time at the Investing Bros Show, make sure you subscribe for amazing content on the crypto market, on stock markets. We are here, T-Shroom and I, just investing. You guys are following us on our journey, and this is a community that is quickly growing with over 800 subs in less than 2 weeks of content. So thank you to everyone who's already subscribed. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. Hit that like button right now. We got 15 people in here right now. I know it's going to grow as we keep going. Make sure. I think today, especially on these two stories, T-Shroom, I think we could get over 100 on our concurrent. We haven't done that just yet. What do you think?
I agree. I think we will. It's going to be exciting.
And now I'm going to ask the question that all of our followers love hearing the answer to every single morning. And that is, T-Shroom, how are you doing this morning?
I am feeling jubilant. Yeah. The CPI, jubilant. I feel the chains released from this economy with this CPI print.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving it. For those of you who don't know, maybe you're newer. Every single morning we get a new answer from T-Shroom on how he's doing. Each one better than the last. And I love the pronunciation and the choice of wordage of jubilant.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
I appreciate that.
It's beautiful. Let's check in with chat before we dive in. A little bit of a different show. Before we get into chat, usually we check in with chat, then we dive into technical analysis, and then we do some stock market stuff, and then we get into stories later. We're actually going to do chat. We're going to talk CPI numbers and then talk about technical analysis. It'll all lead together. And then, instead of diving deep in the stock market, we might touch on a little bit of things here and there, mostly the dollar and some yields. And then we're going to jump in and talk about the SBF arrest. What does this mean not only for SBF himself, but what does this mean for you as crypto holders, stock holders, whatever you might be? If you guys are excited for that content, again, smash that like button. Let's check in to see who is here this morning. Mr. B is here saying, good morning. Thank you, Jesus. Absolutely. Every single day is a blessing. Sophia Turner is in the house. Welcome. Servando Estrada says, good morning, bros. Armzilla is here. Crypto Jump. J520 is here. Alex Green. Crypto Set Guy with the blue moderator. How was your birthday dinner last night, Jeffrey? For those of you who don't know, yesterday was Jeffrey's birthday. That's Crypto Set Guy. And I think his wife had a great dinner planned for him. Let's see here. Grand Roofing Incorporated is here. Milos Salaski, Sack Nasty 86. It's a great day to be alive. It is a great day to be alive. And maybe not for SBF. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe we hear more about him in later. Steve B is here in chat. Anybody miss Bobby Smooth? Steve B. Pausius, Jason Mack. Great to have all of you guys here. Let's see. Let's read some of this. Jason Mack said, pump it up. Playing Joe Budden and waking Budden. I don't know. For a second, I thought he was just playing on Joe Biden because they were there. And waking up kids enjoy.
No, Joe Budden is actually, I think he's a podcaster.
I have no idea who Joe
Budden is. Different from Joe Rogan. I think. We can move on.
You would think.
Not important at all.
Little definition box should pop up underneath each answer for my uneducated brain. I don't know about that. I wouldn't say that. It's not jump. Okay, Crypto JMP. You're right. I just threw the U in there because I'm feeling optimistic this morning. But
how dare you?
Crypto JMP, that's on me, really. There's such a thing as butchering names. That one is not that hard to say, and I just decided I wanted to throw an extra letter in there.
We've got some exciting news today, guys.
We got some great stuff going on. Well, we're going to go and thank you, everybody. Again, last thing I'll say, and then we'll jump in here and we'll talk CPI numbers. If you are new here, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot. If you have already subscribed, but sometimes you have a hard time finding our content, hit that notification bell and make sure you smash the like on every single video you guys watch. With that said, T-Shroom, let's go into some of these CPI numbers. What, first of all, are those numbers? And then let's get some more data on what brought them to that level.
Let's do it, folks. We've got some bullish prints here. Let me just run you through it. So first off, core inflation rate came in colder. Okay, forecast was 6.1. So ever so slightly colder, but we'll take it. The previous print, 6.3. Okay, so moving in the right direction. This is what Jerome Powell wants to see. This is what the economy wants to see. This is what is going to give Jerome Powell the green light to continue to switch the rate hikes down to 50 basis points from 75. Inflation, even better, coming in at 7.1, previously 7.7. Guys, this is wild right here. And then you get the month over month was also colder, and the inflation rate month over month colder. So there was no, the big thing here is there was no contradiction. This was decisive. There was no contradiction. Sometimes the core will come in higher and then the headline will come in lower. That was not the case here, guys. It was just across the board better all the way around. CNBC running the headline this morning, consumer prices rose less than expected in November, up 7.1 from a year ago. So that is really, really good news. Prices rose less than expected in November, the latest sign that the runaway inflation that has been gripping the economy is beginning to loosen up. The consumer price index, which measures a wide basket of goods and services, rose just 0.1% from the previous month and increased 7.1 from a year ago. The Labor Department reported this Tuesday, those statistics, and let's go ahead and go over to their website now. I've highlighted a couple of important segments of the consumer basket here that I wanted to point out. So we're looking here at this column. This is the important column here. Well, it's going to highlight everything. This is the important column, the November 2022. This is which just came out at 8:30 this morning. Guys, this is what really helped us out the most here was energy, and then natural gas, I believe, is what this is. This is piped gas, so I can only assume that is a natural gas there, and that came in the strongest to the downside, right? Mm-hmm. So the prices in piped gas services came down 3.5, and then oil and natural gas, as you guys know, at the pump, getting those lower prices. This morning I saw it 308, Tim.
But you want to know what's even better about this? So we've seen the oil prices starting to fall a little bit. I don't think that these numbers fully reflect the dips we've had. When we get a CPI numbers next month, they could go even lower, which might be another reason for a lot of bullish momentum. Because remember, these are numbers from last month. These are not numbers from last week and the week before.
You're right.
So we actually have a lagging thing here. It's great to see these lower numbers without even taking effect. Like, wait for next month, because oil is a big thing. Oil is massive with the CPI numbers. Mm-hmm. The dips we've had over the last couple of weeks have not been put into these numbers just yet. When that happens, hey, who knows? Maybe the Fed, and we'll talk more later, maybe the Fed does stick with just 50 for this month. I think that's about a done deal thing, but maybe they do hold off. Like, I think the next one is February. Maybe we get no numbers in January and we get no numbers in February if we see those things happen. We'll keep our eyes on it, but
yeah, absolutely.
Good news.
So let's take a look really, really quickly at the oil price chart. So this is what the economy was running on for a long time, and this is why inflation was so high. And that's not even the highest that it got, guys. This oil prices got much higher. This alone was pretty rough on the economy, and that's why inflation has been such a big thing in the headlines. Now the economy was able to run on these type of prices here, much lower, right? So getting those goods from Amazon headquarters, from Amazon distribution center to your house is slightly cheaper, right? So they can charge slightly less for shipping. So everything is slightly cheaper, right? Or getting the apples from South America to the applesauce factory at Mott's, right? That's slightly cheaper. So, and everything in between. If there's fuel-powered machines in a factory that's grinding down the apples to make applesauce. All of that factors in, and it makes it cheaper. Now, oil prices are going even lower, so everything seems to be moving in pretty much the right direction here. Another thing to point out, though, guys, is the used car and truck index here. And you can track this. You can search the Manheim Index, which tracks the used car industry, and that has been going down sharply. And I know that well because I've been checking it almost daily because I'm looking to buy a new car in the new year. So that's down 2.9. And then there's a lot more to go in here, guys. But the thing to watch that's actually working against us is the shelter number. So this is from a much more granular set of data that the Bureau of Labor Statistics puts out, but shelter actually went up quite a bit. So you can see I've scrolled down quite a bit here, but we have to go up really far. So this is the year is October to November. So as you can see here, there is just a kind of a crazy jump. So shelter has lagged. Okay, What is shelter? Shelter is homes, is home prices and prices of rent, things you need above your head to define as shelter, right? So those prices did not come down, and those worked against us. So as soon as those come down, we might get closer to the Fed target of 2%.
And those absolutely are about to come down.
Yeah. And those are slated to come down. And this was one of the things we were looking out with Caleb Franzen back when we were in communication with him a lot more often. He was pointing out shelter is huge, and it is. It just absolutely is. So what does this all translate into, guys? How does this culminate into the value of the crypto in your pocket and the value of equities and commodities in your pocket? Well, taking a look at this, the CME Future Predicting Tool for December 14th, which happens to be tomorrow, is predicting 83% likelihood of a 50 basis point hike. Now, guys, when I came in here and sat down in the studio this morning at, 8:03, this number was 75%. So in the time that CPI print has come in, there has been much more certainty in the futures trading market that 50 basis points is what will be the decision tomorrow.
Well, and the other thing to think about is they're meeting right now. So this FOMC meetings, they're a 2-day process. So they're meeting today. They'll meet a little bit in the morning, and then they'll make the decision and announce it.
They're probably watching
tomorrow.
Our show.
They more than likely, 62 people in here. One of them is more than likely Jerome Powell, because he really doesn't have anything better he's doing with his time at this point. So remember, what I want to see, 83% now going towards 50. I wonder, even if they go 50, I'm interested to see in the interview tomorrow, which, by the way, we won't be able to go live for due to other things we have going on. But we will definitely be paying attention and let you guys know what's happening on Thursday. However, I'm interested to see if there was any conversation, especially after seeing these numbers, of potentially going all the way down to 25 basis points. I doubt that they're going to actually go that far, but I at least hope that it was part of their consideration. Because at this point, it makes it look like the only two options were 75 or 50. It's going to be bullish 50, but I would love to see in his interview, does he mention, hey, we actually considered 25, decided to stay aggressive for now, but just so you guys know, we are loving what we're seeing right now with these numbers. Again, because especially they'll know this. They know that housing's about to fall. They know that the oil market's going to keep going. It already has gone down. We haven't even gotten to track that, and more than likely will keep going down. Are they going to think that maybe they have a better control than they think, or do they want to stay aggressive and still stay on top of it? I'm really interested to see what he says in that interview. That will be massive to see how the crypto market either cools off or continues this rally.
Yeah. Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. And it is extremely important to stay tuned tomorrow because that is going to be the decision day. And if you'll take a look at my screen, this is how markets around the world are reacting. So the U.S. markets, which do not open for another 17 minutes, it looks like they are, and pre-market is up. The S&P is up. CNN, for some reason, only reports on the S&P. I guess that's the most important one to it. Most important one to me, I guess, too. In Europe, markets decidedly up here, up almost 2% across the board. The FTSE is the one trailing, and it's up 0.8, right? So that's pretty good. And then the Asian markets over here pretty much closed up, decidedly green. The Shanghai in China closed down pretty much even on the day. Some of the South American markets, which Garrett Soloway, I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, Tim, but Garrett Soloway is pretty big on the Brazilian indexes. He's talking about that as kind of a hedge against the recession we might be going into. Have you thought about?
Has he given any reason why? No, I haven't seen him say that. When I watched Garrett Soloway, more than likely he's talking about Bitcoin and what's happening to Bitcoin. I haven't seen him talk about Brazil. Did he give a reason as to why he believes that?
I think he thinks it's underbought. He thinks that the Brazilian indexes are underbought. I don't know exactly why, but that's something he's been talking about. And you can see there on my screen, they're coming in today.
That's interesting.
Green. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our CPI coverage. There's definitely going to be a lot more discussed about this.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing of the day, almost. Right? But there's an even bigger story.
There is.
Right?
For anyone who's just joining, we got 67 people now watching, which is awesome. We just discussed the CPI numbers, which came in lower than expected. They came in at 7.1 rather than the 7.3 we expected. And that is not even including the recent dip in oil prices. It has not included, like, the housing market has not fallen at this point. So massive bullish day. We're about to jump in on the charts, but go ahead if you have not already. Smash that like button. Later on in the show, we will be talking about the massive news breaking last night of SBF being arrested down in the Bahamas and what that actually means. We got to take our wins, guys, but there's some more to that story we're going to talk about, so make sure you don't go anywhere. Let's go ahead and go to my screen, and let's look at Bitcoin. So, as you guys can see, it is up, and I'm going to start off, those of you who have been watching me, I've been talking about this zone. I have a lot I want to say there. I'm trying to think through how I want to say this. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. I prepped that zone. I said, watch at the bottom range, 17,600, and watch the top, 18,000, right? I said this. I'm actually very surprised that we got into this. I'm actually very surprised we did it in the way that we just did it. We started some bullish momentum last night after the SBF news, but this morning when those CPI numbers came, for those of you who were sitting around watching your computer at 8:30, the way T. Shum and I were, it was like a firecracker went off, and the green candles on those lower charts just started exploding. Now, that's the honest part. We still are within a level of understanding here, though. Watch 18,000. I still want to see us break through 18,000. If we can do that, and if we start heading back up towards 19 especially, and get back above this former support now turned resistance, that is when I'm starting to really dig deep in this and say, oh my goodness, I think the bottom might actually be in. Until that happens, I still am seeing a case that we are just riding a wave of good news right now in Bitcoin, and we're going to end up keeling back over and coming back down lower. But if we can start turning these former resistance levels, these resistance levels right here, into support, especially this one up here at 18,891, that's why I'm just rounding up to 19,000. If we can turn those into support again, I'm not saying we're blasting back off the new all-time highs within 2 weeks or anything, by no means. But you're getting a case that the bulls are regaining territory that they had previously lost. So we'll keep you guys' eyes on that. But let's look at some other things, some other details here. So, we were talking about this. I'm on the 4-hourly chart right now. The other day, we broke through this rising level of support. This was, a problem. We ended up breaking back above it and then finding support and rallying, obviously, this morning. But what's interesting here is you actually go out to the daily chart, and you notice when I'm drawing these lines, I'm drawing them based off of wick. So we have 1 wick, 2 wick, 3 wick, 4 wick, 5 wick touching. Technically speaking, even though we have a wick that dropped below it right here, and this wick goes below it as well, technically speaking, the daily close yesterday closed right at that line. So this support level is still significant. So keep your eyes on this support level. That's why I have it extended out. I hope they can see it. You guys see this blue line? Let me make it a little thicker so people can see it just in case that's hard to see. Keep your eyes on this blue line. As even if we break through it, I do expect us to reject, as we are doing currently, around this top zone around 18,000 and maybe have a little bit of a correction. Now, I'm going to show you guys when I pull up the oscillators on the lower charts why I think that. But if we reject and start coming back down, which is normal, keep an eye on this blue line as it continues to be an important level of rising support as we're setting higher lows, and now we've regrouped and set a higher high as well. I was concerned about this the other day. Let me go on the hourly chart and show you. I was concerned when we were hitting down here, starting this zone all the way down here, higher high, not a higher high, and then went lower high. And so I was concerned, is this trend over? Well, guess what? We just set a new higher high. We did not ever set lower low. So this trend is still secondary trend to the upside. So it is completely okay if we reject somewhere up here, come back down. Maybe what we end up doing is rejecting and coming back down here, moving sideways, and finding 17,600 as support over towards this blue line. I'm not saying that's going to happen necessarily, but it would be interesting to see if potentially that's what we have. Now, I told you guys there's one thing I want to keep an eye on, though, and the reason why I do think we're probably going to be rejected somewhere around 18,000 and come back down. Let's pull up the oscillators, and you guys are going to notice right off the bat, and let me zoom in as much as I can, but I'm trying to get you to top. We are really high. We're 87 on the RSI, massively overextended. Looking at the Luxago oscillator, we are overextended. We got that red cloud coming in. All right. What does this mean, though? There's still a lot of bullish momentum. This is really important that the bulls regain momentum. I would not be surprised to see the price, come to 18,000, dip, and come back down, and then potentially, finding support here. And, I said that maybe we end up going higher. And what happens with our oscillator is we come way back down, and then we come up, and this peak is not as high, and we get our bearish divergence, and then there's a little bit of a cooling off period. That just happens with rallies. You rally, you get your momentum, and then you have a cooling off period. So what I'm watching for right now is I'm looking at the overextended RSI, and I'm saying, all right, that does mean a cooling off potentially will be coming down the road, but I think that potentially what we'll see is a bearish RSI divergence first. And then we'll have that cooling off period. My hope, though, and what I'm really wanting to see for the bulls to have control is I'm really wanting to see them have all of this happen above 17,600. Is it the end of the world if we break back below 17,600? No, it's not the end of the world, but just think of how strong of a case that would be for the bulls to have that massive level back. Remember, those of you who have been watching now the entire week and a half we've been doing the show, we also talked about the macro, and I'll go ahead and show you guys here again. We talked about the macro picture of looking at this linear chart, and historic bear markets, we break below the 0.786 level, and then we struggle to get back above it for several months before finally rallying through it. I'm going to show you guys right here too. I just got to zoom, and just with the linear chart, you got to really mess with this. See back here as well. We break below it. Technically, we have some wicks go above it, but they aren't able to stay there very long. We end up moving below the 0.786 level again for many months before finally breaking through. That's why this level is so important, because when I go ahead and pull up and make our Fibonacci on this one, this is the last thing I'm going to do on Bitcoin, and we're going to move on to Ethereum and Cardano briefly. But when I grab this from down in the pandemic times up to all-time high, guess where that 0.786 level hits? Boom, right there at 17,600. So for those reasons, getting above and staying above 17,600 could potentially keep us from having to stay months below that level, just trading. Although that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I can keep accumulating. You guys can keep accumulating more Bitcoin. But if we're talking about we want the bulls to come back, if you're sitting here saying, Tim, I've used all of my supply, I've used all my dry powder, I'm just ready for a rally so I can actually start taking some profits, it would be very, very, very helpful for us to go ahead and stay above 17,600 for the foreseeable future. And again, of course, that would also mean the bottom is in, but not a guarantee. Nothing is for certain. Again, we're sitting right in striking territory of this was a great rally, but we're just going to come back right back down because Jerome Powell is going to come out tomorrow. I'm not saying he will. I'm just being hypothetical. He comes back out tomorrow and crushes our dreams and says, not good enough. We wanted 6.8. We wanted 6.7, and 7.1 is still out of control. We're going to raise 75 or we're going to do 50, but guess what? We're not promising anything. In February, we're going to do another 50. We got to see what his take is. And then, of course, we also got to talk about, what is going to happen with Binance. Again, not necessarily reason to freak out just yet, but there are some alarming things happening with Binance that could affect Bitcoin's price. So keep your eyes on all of that. Let's move over and go to Ethereum. And, so it's having a little pump of its own, and it's doing something that I thought was going to take us a lot longer to get to, but guess where it's currently sitting right now? It's sitting right at that green line, which is former resistance. Going back out to the daily chart, you guys have been watching me talk about this, but this is a falling wedge pattern Ethereum has been in ever since that November high back in 2021. We've touched this level several times, and now we're sitting right back at it again. Now, why is this important? Because like I said, there's a chance that we still have a little more rally left in us. Could Ethereum be the project that ends up starting off a nice bullish action, breaking through these lows, breaking through this former resistance, turning it into support, and maybe it starts its own rally? It will be interesting because there was some reports this morning. Actually, I'm going to show you guys right here. I don't know if we have time to talk about this, but SEC chair says we are ready to take action against other crypto companies violating U.S. security laws. I don't like that because he's fighting with Ripple right now, but there's been rumors that Ripple might be about to settle here in a couple of days. Is that meat to those rumors? I don't know, but I'm really hoping Ethereum is doing everything it can to work towards being able to defend itself against the SEC, and institutional money will feel safe in it, and then we'll see a rally in Ethereum. Again, watch that descending level of resistance. Can we break through, turn it back into support? This would be huge. Also notice, as we're about to transition into Cardano, I'm going to prep myself for this. Look at this volume right here. Look at this volume on Ethereum. Look at this volume on Bitcoin. Prepare your eyeballs. A lot of people have been disappointed with Cardano, myself included. Look at that volume.
Anemic.
I'll go to a different chart. This is Kraken. Let's go to Coinbase. I think Coinbase is the most impressive. I gotta give it the same. There's a little more volume on Coinbase, but it's not the same. It's not the same. Cardano is just not the same when it comes to volume. Right now, just look at can they see this side of it? Look at these. Yeah. Like Bitcoin's up over 4%. Ethereum's up over 5%. Cardano, they've caught up. Earlier this morning, it was only 2.7%. They're at 3.56 right now. Love it. They were hesitant right there at that 31 cent, 33 level. Bitcoin should not be outpacing Cardano in a rally. I'm sorry. That just should not happen. When moves happen in crypto and these projects move together, Bitcoin should not be outpacing Cardano because it has a ridiculously larger market. Market
cap?
Market cap. I don't know why my brain froze on that one. It has so much bigger of a market cap. The fact that it is outpacing Cardano, I'm okay with Ethereum outpacing it. There's some stuff happening with Ethereum, but the fact that Bitcoin's outpacing Cardano, that is massively disappointing. Now, I'm just talking about price action. I have not given up hope in Cardano, the project. I've not given up hope in Charles Hoskinson. I think the fundamentals of Cardano are one of the strongest in the entire space. But I am very frustrated with the price action of Cardano. I still believe that at some point there's going to be a massive rally. At some point, we're going to see Cardano just take off. But I have this inclination, this thought, maybe the problem is, as we're following all the SBF stuff and we're following all the people that were involved, a lot of people don't like Cardano. Kevin O'Leary doesn't like Cardano. Mark Cuban doesn't like Cardano. Gary Gensler has been, not the biggest on it. All these people that had relationships with FTX. We know FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried did not like Cardano. Was there this huge campaign to discourage institutional adoption of Cardano that you're seeing maybe potentially institutions this morning waking up some good news are putting money into Bitcoin and putting money into Ethereum and putting money into some of these other ones? AVAX is up 6%, But there's like this blacklist of do not put your money in Cardano. Institutions, do not put your money in Cardano. It has one of the largest communities. Like Cardano should be rallying very, very much so right now. But is there like a blacklist happening? And I think it's going to go away. Cardano's so solid. I think eventually institutions will come back to Cardano. But is that what we're seeing right now? I'm just speculating. Are we seeing institutions having a blacklist of Cardano? And until we get all this SBF stuff out of the way and we realize that all that stuff was absolutely stupidity, absolute stupidity, maybe then the institutions feel more comfortable with Cardano. I don't know. But either way, Cardano is rallying back up. It was important to get over this red line. This red line is a key level that we had based off of when you're going out to longer time frames and you're looking at some volume that Cardano has been utilized in. Man, when you're doing the linear chart, it really makes it hard on you. When you do the fixed range volume profile, let's just go and look over here. There's a point right here when you're looking these mountains. This was one of the mountains we're looking at in volume. That peak right there at 31 cents. Let's see, 31.34 cents. So getting above that is really huge. That was a lot of work to show you something that it took me a lot of time to say something very simple. Going back down to the closer timelines, what I'm keeping my eyes on, though, is there's a pocket. This blue zone I have is a pocket of volume. So let's watch to see, can Cardano get above that 32 cent level? Can we turn it back into support? You guys can see right here, we played out our falling wedge, went down even a little bit lower than the prediction, but that should give us the signs, hey, it's good and ready for a Cardano rally. Our oscillators, we're not getting necessarily out of control. I do think that the oscillator is moving a little faster than the price action, but we're not setting up any bearish RSI divergence as we speak. We got a lot of room to the upside with Cardano, whereas, remember, I showed you guys on Bitcoin, we're overextended. Let's see, with Ethereum. Ethereum is getting towards overextended. Not as much as Bitcoin, but it's overextended. But Cardano has a lot of room when it comes to the RSI. So, did we get there? Are we going to start seeing some money maybe just more retail investment. But do we see institutions maybe start taking a gamble? And look at that. Like as we're talking, it looks like the volume has picked up just a little bit.
The market
on
just
Cardano.
opened. Yeah.
Did it? Okay, so maybe we're going to see a little bit more come in. But we'll keep you guys posted about the rest of the show if we see some massive moves on any of the three of these. But I wanted to show you guys that. That's what we're seeing this morning. Yes, there's pumps. I'm disappointed with Cardano. We're going to, it's 9:29. I guess you said the market did just open, though?
It just opened.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
it looks like it should have 30 seconds before it opens.
You'll get a spike in volume like, a couple seconds before it opens.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
So
makes sense. We're going to talk more. We probably won't go into traditional ones. I do want us to go in and talk about the Dixie and talk about yields. Let's start with yields for a second, T-Shirt. And I know you've been looking at some of those. Do you want to check on those charts?
Let's do it. Let's do it. So heading over to my screen here, you can see these yields are down 5%, 3%, 4% on the 10-year, on the 20-year, 3%. And the Dixie is down 1.2%. Let's take a look at that chart really quick. Yeah, it is absolutely taking a bathroom break here, to put it nicely. So that's good. I mean, that's bullish. You're taking some strength out of the dollar, and that is going to be positive for Wall Street, and it's going to be positive for crypto here. So these yields coming down lower, in theory, what this is it's de-incentivizing folks to get into bonds, right? There's not this outsized, hey, come over here, you can get these high yields now. There's less and less of that. They're still pretty high, but like there's less and less of that. So that's a positive overall thing, because folks are now basically, what the market is saying is, hey, you don't need to go rush into these ultra safe fixed income instruments known as U.S. savings bonds. Right, you can now go into U.S. equities, a more risky asset, or crypto, a more risky asset. That is a very, very rough reinterpretation of what this means, what this market is saying by saying these specific things. Oh, Greg Gressick is in the chat. He said, I'm at 52K ADA, stay down, want 100K ADA. Yeah. So he wants ADA to stay lower. Maybe he's the one manipulating the ADA markets there and the volume, keeping them low. But okay, so other than that, so we've started here on the bond rates here, and they're just staying low. They started low and they've stayed low this morning. This isn't the most important thing here, but cannabis stocks ripping. You actually kind of important, right? Because cannabis stocks pretty high risk, right? So they're staying up pretty high, coming up pretty high this morning. Small cap stocks up significantly. I think this is probably going to be the highest number we're going to see this morning, at least right now at market open. And then oil producers up pretty big too. Let's check the crypto, just kind of like my watch list here. Bitcoin up for, like I said, small cap equities still beating these numbers. So more money rushing into small cap equities on the New York Stock Exchange. Here's some metals. Now here's an interesting story. Gold and silver here are rallying today. Now I haven't had time to fully process this, but I did see a headline on this. This is interesting, because you would think, okay, kind of in the same sense of like, say, okay, bonds are becoming less attractive this morning, but silver and gold are not becoming less attractive. You could kind of say here that there's some smart money, even though there's a spike right now. There's some smart money maybe selling on their gains today in crypto or equities and going ahead and moving into silver, thinking, hey, there's a lot of jubilance in the market today. And maybe they're just hedging against a potential surprise 75 basis point hike tomorrow and saying, I want to go ahead and get metals, right? Metals is kind of like the last resort instrument to invest in. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We'll talk about that another time. But silver and gold up today. And I'm a little bit surprised by that, because you'd think that the lowest risk asset class would not be up today. Obviously, the U.S. stock indexes are up today as well, and there's a little bit of discontinuity here between the futures contract of the SPY and the SPY. So the futures contract up markedly higher there by a little bit less than a full percentage point. So that's pretty interesting. We'll do this quickly. Guys, I'm close to being able to exit out of my Boyle trade, out of my long. I exited my short in profit on natural gas. So I'll just run through this really quick. We've done this 100 times, but if you're new to the show, I want to give you a little bit of an update here. So I took a long and short position back here on December 1st on natural gas, a long and a short position, right? So came down, was in the profit on my short, sold it down here, and then kept a little bit of it sold it again down here to close out of that short position. Okay. So when you're down here, you're down on that long position. So you're sad, right? But you hold it, you stay patient. And sure enough, it bounced off of this line of support, came up, and now I'm almost even on that. Now I'm even tempted to hold on to it because it's got potentially room to run. But we'll see. I'm thinking it's probably going to come up here and test this midline of this channel, and then that's when I may actually go ahead and take another position short as it comes back down here and tests this low to see if is it truly back in this channel, is it truly back in here, or is it just trying to peak up and then it's just going to fall right back down and maybe go lower. So I'm thinking it's going to come up here, test this midline, and then come down, and then this is going to be the decision point when it comes back down, and that's where I want to take some profit on my short and probably go ahead and exit the trade because I don't know which way it's going to go. So that's a summation there of the markets at open. Everything's up. Everything is up except what you don't want to be up, which is the bonds. So it's a good day for the markets, guys, if you are long anything, pretty much.
the Dixie as well is down. Yeah. Go to my screen real quick on that one. Dixie is down, breaking below these levels we had back here at 103.71. Currently, we're sitting around 103.39. We've been as low as 1.3.1. And just to guys show you, with Dixie, something that I think is significant when it comes to Dixie. Caleb Franzen was talking about this morning, but notice right here, this orange line I have drawn, I'm actually going to the 4-hourly chart to show you guys this. This was a key level of support we bounced at back here in November. We just rejected off of that. So this is in an area, again, where bears, we want the bears to be good in this one, but the bears gain control by turning a former support line used almost 2-3 times, now turning into resistance. The other thing, zooming out here, looking at the daily chart and using our Fibonacci tool about the levels we're currently looking at when it comes to, and I'm going to show you guys both log and linear. They're similar, but let's see. This is the linear, this is log. So they're kind of a little bit different, but both of them now. So there's an argument right here on the linear chart. We're using 0.382 as resistance. We were using it on the log chart as being maybe support. Doesn't matter which one you're looking at now, it is heading down. Potentially, we're heading down to that 0.5 level around 102.14. Keep your eyes on that. Fibonacci has been very big in looking at levels for the Dixie, the DXY. And so the next level, keep your eyes on 102.14, which means there's still some room to run with crypto to the upside as long as the Dixie continues to keep falling. But again, that will also be another one that's hugely affected by Fed meeting tomorrow by Jerome Powell. What he not only comes out and gives us a number as, but also what are his remarks? What does he say in that press conference?
Yeah.
Last thing I was going to say, actually, but we're about to transition into SBF story. Yep. Massive stuff here. 74 people watching. Come on, everybody. This is awesome. There is one more thing. I want to, I kind of went on a little bit of a, come on, Cardano, do something kind of rant there. This is the one good thing I am seeing on Cardano that you're not seeing on Bitcoin or on Ethereum, and that is right here. This is a bullish engulfing candlestick. Look at the last time we had an engulfing candlestick, this bearish one right here. I'm going to zoom in a little more for you guys in the daily chart. This one right here. In case you guys are wondering what we're looking at not only does the candle body, a longer candle body than the one previously, but there's wicks above and below both the other wicks. So not every single candle that's just longer is automatically one. Like, so for example, this isn't one because we're not above. Those wicks are the same level. You have to be above and below. Sure enough, on Cardano, wicks below, wicks above. This is bullish engulfing. Ethereum does not have that because yesterday was green. Bitcoin does not have that because yesterday was green. So that's one thing that Cardano does have working for it on its chart for a rally that Bitcoin and Ethereum don't necessarily have. So keep your eyes on that one as well. Again, I'm frustrated, but I still have hope and belief in Cardano having some gains here very soon. Look, you can go off my screen now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's check in with chat real quick, and then we're jumping into SBF. Again, over 70 people watching. That is awesome. CryptoSec guy said, investing bros, Eric Wallen, T-Shroom, could you long and short Bitcoin?
Can you? Yes. So you can,
yes,
but you have to have a Robinhood account or some kind of brokerage account because you can't, well, you can do it through the futures trading, which there are many platforms out there, BitGet, KuCoin, essentially. But if you got a Robinhood account, which there's a link down in the description for I get a free stock, you get a free stock. You just buy the ETF called BITI, B-I-T-I, and you can short Bitcoin through that. And you can long and short it. Obviously, you can buy Bitcoin on Robinhood as well. Robinhood isn't the best It's not the best ever. Okay, they have controversies, but I know, like, and trust Robinhood despite it all. So yes, you can absolutely short Bitcoin very easily.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's about it. Tom Wilkes is in chat. Love Tom Wilkes.
Mm-hmm.
Praying for Tom, but he's having surgery here soon. So everybody, if you do believe in prayer, be praying for Tom. If you don't, be thinking about Tom. Send him your love. Yeah. He's getting surgery here soon, and then he'll be back out on the golf course.
Yeah, I would be careful shorting Bitcoin right now, though. That's like the worst time to take a short position in pretty much anything other than bonds, which TLT, you could take a short in that if you know how to short an ETF. Okay, so do we want to go? I want to show a couple charts really quick here before we get into SBF.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be. It just made your face. Okay, it doesn't want to go to my chart. So we'll
see. It knew that it was time to get an SBF.
It knows. And somehow, yeah. So it lets me go to the SBF, but it doesn't let me go to my Safari charts.
It knew. It knew it was time for SBF.
The SEC charges Sam Bankman-Fried for allegedly defrauding FTX equity investors. Guys, this is the moment that Crypto YouTube has been waiting for, because I don't know of another community that's watching this industry like a hawk, other than maybe, say, hedge funds and Trad Finance, who has way too much money bundled into the early burgeoning industry of crypto at this point. You can say easily in hindsight. But the Securities and Exchange Commission today charged Samuel Bankman-Fried. That's the first time I've seen his full name there, so a little bit of a difference here. With orchestrating a scheme to defraud equity investors in FTX Trading Limited, the commission announced today. It alleged that SBF violated anti-fraud provisions of both the Securities and Exchange Act of 1933 and 1934. So he's pissing off everybody. There's definitely a lot here more to unearth. During the bankruptcy proceedings, John J. Ray III, the former Enron liquidator who took over the role of FTX as CEO, described FTX as a business with a complete failure of corporate controls and called the situation unprecedented in his first submitted statement. Now, you guys probably don't remember Enron. Some of you may. But Enron was a giant energy company that was running energy for most of California, and they're expanding into the West and also Texas. And they were basically just stealing, and they were committing loads and loads of fraud. And this guy, the exact same guy, John J. Ray, once Enron was discovered to be committing so much fraud, he was the one who came in and took it over. And now he's saying that it's unprecedented what FTX is doing. So it's pretty wild stuff. But it doesn't stop there, because FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested yesterday in the Bahamas. There's been no real photographs of that yet, but we obviously know this now. It's been reported. The disgraced ex-CEO of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, has been arrested in the Bahamas, according to statement from the Royal Bahama Police Force. So if you trust the Royal Bahama Police Force, which I do, I know I do, they have a great track record in my mind.
Yeah, I mean,
then you know that this is legit. So the receipt of formal notification from the U.S. that it has filed criminal charges against SBF and is likely to request his extradition, a statement read. And this is from the U.S. Attorney of Southern District of New York, said U.S. Domain Williams. Earlier this evening, Bahamian authorities arrested Sam Bankman-Fried at the request of the U.S. government based on a sealed indictment filed by the Southern District of New York. We expect to move to unseal this indictment in the morning, and we'll have more to say at that time. So it is the morning now, so maybe there should be some breaking news here pretty soon, whenever they can get around to it. And then it doesn't stop there, folks, because SBF charged with conspiracy to wire fraud, money laundering by the Justice Department. And then also this article goes on to kind of rehash those SEC charges as well. But Sam Bankman is getting it from a lot of different angles this morning and last night, guys, because he's being indicted by the U.S. He's being investigated for wire fraud and money laundering by the Department of Justice. And then the SEC is coming at him for defrauding investors, okay, and lying to investors of FTX. So it's really not a great morning to wake up and be SBF. But I want to read you more about what the current CEO of FTX has had to say. And he didn't say this today, but this is really, really important. So Ray, remember, this is the current FTX. This is the guy who came in and cleaned up Enron. And he's doing the same thing here with FTX. These are his more updated remarks. Ray said in his remarks that while many things are unknown at this stage, the new team knows the following. Customer assets from FTX were commingled with assets from Alameda. So if they have so this is big, because if SBF goes into Congress, which Tim and I were not exactly sure if he's going to go there, if he's going to go into Congress today or tomorrow and testify, because he's now in police custody. So we're not really sure if he's going to actually be going. But if he were to go...
It's not looking like he is. I mean, everything I'm seeing, I haven't seen something officially say he is definitely not doing it. But everything I've read and everything I'm looking at says he's not going to be talking there.
But he's told straight up, New York Times journalists, he did not commingle funds. So that would be perjury if he was to repeat those statements to Congress, because the current CEO of FTX is saying that he has evidence that he knows for sure, his team knows that they did indeed commingle funds. So let's read on further here. Alameda used client funds to do margin trading, exposing them to massive losses. So that's not good. FTX went on a spending binge from late 2021 through 2022, when approximately $5 billion was spent buying a myriad of businesses and investments, many of which may now be worth a fraction of what he paid for them. And then also that the firm made more than $1 billion in loans and other payments to insiders. Okay, so again, he's just making so many mistakes here. And then Alameda's role as a market maker for crypto inspired it to place money into other exchanges that were inherently unsafe. So Ray here, John Ray III, kind of just letting it be known, all of these different things. Tim, what is your reaction to kind of Ray's reporting here?
I mean, it's what we knew. It's not like it's new to us, but it's comforting to know that somebody in-house who has gone through the details, who has gone through the data, who has gone through all of the evidence, and is willing to present it to a court, is going to actually not allow Sam to squiggle out of this. He's not going to be able to slither and say, I don't know, I don't really understand, no, like, you're the CEO, you know, and it's we were watching a clip this morning. By the way, Altcoin Daily, always great content. I don't think you guys heard that here first. I think most of you guys probably already know that, but they put out a video that's really good. But in one of the clips, they actually they show him, and they type the words when he was in. I can't remember which interview it was, but he was being interviewed, and they pretty much just point blank asked Sam. He's like, that it says here in your terms of agreement that it does whatever, and you see Sam reiterate the words as he's trying to look for his next excuse because he's being trapped. And it's just that's just how he is. He spent about a month and some change not talking to anybody. And I promise you, aside from playing League of Legends, he was talking with mommy and daddy's lawyers, finding out what he should be saying, what narrative to get involved with. And he did the best he could. And you know what? Based off what's happening, Sam, you gave it a good try. You really did give it a good try. I think you fooled a couple people, but not the U.S. government and not the majority of crypto Twitter. Definitely didn't fool Ben over at BitBoy. And it's just good to see that he finally is going to have everything put in place to bring him to justice. What is alarming, though, so here's where we're going to start getting into some tinfoil hat conspiracy theory thoughts. And I've already seen it in chat, so it's not like we're the ones breaking this one either. Why last night? Why was last night when they decided to do that? Obviously, again, with Congress, is it just to avoid Congress? Is it just to avoid having to testify? I'm not going to say this is what I necessarily believe, but I was listening to a Twitter Spaces last night. Mario, he's been doing a great job with a lot of those, although I will say, slightly tangential, anyone who listens to these, I hope Elon puts something in to help Twitter Spaces. I'm getting tired of these Twitter Spaces where it is a bunch of very educated, smart people, but they all just try to talk over each other. And it's like, I'm important. No, I'm more important. No, I'm more important. No, and you don't actually get to hear what the actual information was. Yeah. For anyone who watched that original SBF interview, it was a complete nightmare. Like, it was terrible watching these interviewers go over top of each other. Anyway, that was tangential. Twitter Spaces do better. In this Twitter Spaces, they talk about the concept that potentially Kevin O'Leary is somewhat involved with the timing of this, that he does not want SBF, which appears, I don't even think you're stretching the truth. He almost acts like SBF is a good friend of his. He says, I still would trust him. I still like him. I want to see the evidence before I see anything against him. I mean, Kevin, the evidence has been staring us in the face the whole time. You just keep avoiding it. But potentially, are you now seeing in the same way that SBF's in trouble because Caroline clearly felt the squeeze and has been talking with FBI reporters up in New York, and she's ratting on him? Is it finally going to get that squeeze to old SBF? And is he going to start talking about potentially some things that Kevin might have known that Kevin is not telling us he knows? So again, I'm not saying that's definitely what happened. You do have to see some more evidence there, but that was heavily discussed last night. And here's what I'll say. I'm not going to say 100% of these rumors, but more often than not, these rumors that have been talking about by these sources, the sources that Ben's been talking to, the sources that Mario's has, the people he brings on, they have not been wrong about that much. So while I want to see more before I'm fully convinced Kevin O'Leary has a bigger role in all of this, the fact that these people who have had amazing inside information, who have gotten some great details, the fact that they're reporting that there are some ties here is alarming to me. We will see what happens there. The other one that's really interesting to me about this detail, did you already, maybe you said it and I missed it. Did you talk about the SEC filings as well?
I did.
All right. So there's also been a lot of speculation that Gary Gensler has been in bed with SBF. And there was an amazing show done last week by BitBoy's channel where they showed the charts of the FTT token and the mediocrity of its movement up until the exact day that Gary Gensler took over as chair of the SEC.
Wow.
Coincidental? Maybe. But there's been so many conversations. Gary Gensler was supposedly working with SBF. Remember a couple months ago when we weren't talking about FTX going down, we were talking about the evil that was the regulatory bill that SBF was proposing. Gary was working with him on it. So they clearly had some form of relationship. But now all of a sudden, this charge, the article that I found this morning was literally saying that they're investigating all the way back to 2019. Gary, did you know this whole time? And maybe are you a part of what got him arrested today so he can't talk to Congress? And then you're going to go after him yourself? And then all of a sudden be like, oh, we weren't friends. He's actually a huge fraudster. We're going to go out. There's a lot of information we do not know the answer to. But there's a lot of fishy information that I'm like, this is not as clean cut as maybe what mainstream media wants you to believe. Which is why, again, it disappoints me so much when those Twitter spaces are so disorganized. Because I actually think the information coming out of them is extremely helpful to people. But I can tell you right now, unless you are glued into crypto, unless you're like, I want to know this stuff, listening to those spaces is so frustrating because they keep interrupting each other and they keep going over each other. You're just like, I don't even care anymore. I'm going to go off. But in reality, if you can bear it and bite down and just grit, this is going to be very unprofessional and disorganized. The information is very, very helpful and is alarming to how much of a scam this whole thing is. And then you add on top of this, I know I've been talking for a minute here, but now you add on top of this all the corruption that we're seeing in these Twitter files that Elon is uncovering that's tying a lot of this stuff together. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's the kind of stuff that makes you say like, oh man, I think every conspiracy theory at this point has to be truth. Because just as you think someone couldn't do anything any worse, evidence comes out that it was worse than you originally thought. So that's my thought on this whole issue. A lot of fishiness, and I can't wait to continue to watch it develop. But what are your thoughts, T-Shroom?
Well, there's two very interesting people in the chat. One is my father, Steve Shrum, who said, not Mr. Wonderful, which is kind of funny. And then also we have Gary Gensler in the chat. Who has said a couple of different things here. He said, it's a coincidence. So you heard it here, folks, from Gary Gensler. Just for those of you who don't know, it's probably not actually Gary Gensler. But there's a chance it is. And he's saying that it's a coincidence, that all of it is coincidence. Wouldn't it be interesting if when SBF does publicly have an opportunity to defend himself, that he outs, just like he outed the whole ESG network and how he doesn't actually think that that's very legitimate. If he's willing to do that, is he willing to take the next step and also kind of out and expose the communication channels that he was having with Gary Gensler just to save his own butt, right? Just to get himself, less jail time or a lesser fine. Because look, he has to appear authentic to Congress, right? And I think that so far in these interviews, he's lied, right? And he's said a bunch of mistruths. But the fact that he's been willing to do these interviews is either he's got some crazy lawyer who's telling him to do this, he's got some friend who's not a very good friend telling him to do this, or he's really feeling guilty, right? And he wants to do these to make people, feel better about him. Maybe it's his ego driving him to do this. But I also think that there's a part of all this that he has some genuine, authentic guilt, right? That he's wanting to try and be transparent in this moment. He's still lying because ultimately when it comes down to him, at the core, he's a liar and he's a deceiver, but he's guilty and he wants to show to himself or show to a couple key people that he's trying to do the right thing and trying to fess up. And when I think that there's a chance that if he has certain influences around him, just, the right lawyers who are like, look, like, they don't have any kind of like, loyalties to Gary Gensler or the SEC or anything. If they're just lawyers that are out there that really want to do the right thing and they want to expose this deeper, root system of connections that goes deeper and expose Gary Gensler, it would be pretty interesting if he were to pull the trigger. And I bring that up because I don't think it's out the realm of possibility. He's pulled the trigger on. Well, now that I'm thinking about it, though, the ESG stuff. It came out in a tweet, right? In tweet messages.
Yeah, it was
so that wasn't something that he was forthcoming with, but it's something that since then he's been like, yeah, I think it's a bunch of bull crap. So
no, it's remember this about Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler he's had, I don't want to say wins, but I'm looking at that tweet he said about he's going after other ones. I've heard the rumors that we're going to see Ripple go into a plea deal. We do know Gary Gensler is not liked even in the SEC building. The people that work for the SEC do not like Gary Gensler. Mm-hmm. But it'll be interesting to see, and I would love to see it. If he is involved in this, I would love to see him come to justice as well. Let's not forget two other characters that are also in this picture we have not talked about on this show.
Who's that?
That is SBF's parents, who are Stanford professors who have both been suspended pending investigation and their involvement in this whole case, which is good because there's a lot of speculation. I know you guys, again, watching some of those Twitter spaces, listening to the Twitter spaces, you can't watch them, listening to some of those Twitter spaces, listening to some of these guys going really deep. Ben, CoffeeZilla, I almost said CryptoZilla, CoffeeZilla, some of these other amazing investigative pieces they've been doing have heavily discussed the involvement of his parents. So it's good to see Stanford responding to that. They're under investigation. They're being suspended right now. We'll see what they're doing as well. Just all the evidence. I couldn't even go into detail. If you guys have not heard about this, the ties, the relationships, the things that they have done to build him almost into it, which is part of why I know I interrupted myself there. I'm still thinking there's a small amount of this. I think SBF, Samuel Bankman-Fried, is smarter than he wants us to believe in some of these interviews. I do too. I do think that there's elements of what he's saying that are true in that he did not know certain things are going on, that he was that lazy, because I just still at this point would not be surprised to know he knows more than what he's telling us, but he doesn't know as much as some of us think he knows. And he is simply a scapegoat that was created from the very beginning by people like his parents, by people like, what's the name of that lawyer that a lot of other people are kind of throwing in there? Someone's going to put it in chat and I'm going to see it here in a second. Was he the setup front man from the very beginning for a lot of other people pulling the strings? We see this happen. Like, that's actually when people want to corrupt and manipulate other people. It's actually a lot easier.
Mark Cohen?
No, not Mark Cohen. There's somebody else. Chat's going to put it in here in a second. When you actually want to be the one corrupting and manipulating and controlling people, the best way to do it is not to make your face the face of whatever you're using to do it. It's to find somebody else to do so. So I'm not going to be surprised if we can actually get down to the truth of this. Dan Friedberg. I'm not going to be surprised if we actually find out through a lot of investigation, hey, Sammy, he does deserve to go to prison, but he's not the only one, and he's not even the worst of these offenders. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion at this point, but I don't have any evidence to actually convict him myself, and also it wouldn't matter because I don't have any credentials to convict anyone myself. I'm not a judge.
Yeah.
That's my thought. I want to hear what chat. Do you guys think that Samuel is actually the lead? Do you think that he is the brains, that he is playing this dumb route, but in all reality, he's as evil as what people are going to be pointing him out to be? Or do you think other people are not just as involved, more involved with this whole corruption scheme? I'd love to know what you guys think in chat.
Yeah. Well, I want to take a look at the markets here because, man, they're reacting so strongly to the CPI numbers. What's a bigger story today, Tim? Come on, when the rubber meets the road, what's a bigger story, the CPI or Sam Bankman?
Long term, Sam Bankman.
Okay.
Short term, like today, CPI. Today and tomorrow, CPI.
Yeah, the CPI is definitely moving the markets. I think Bankman, and it's hard to say because it's like, get into the semantics of what's a story. But is that Queen in the chat?
Mm-hmm.
Queen, we have not. I don't think we've seen her in the chat.
Yeah, I think she was in here the other day.
So, but seldom, and it's unfortunate because apparently she's been remodeling a home. I hit her up on Twitter.
Oh, nice.
Message. We were talking a little bit back and forth, but she said central banks run the show. And that's a very, very true statement. So, but looking over here at Microsoft is coming up here and testing this 200-day moving average. And I would be willing to bet that the SPY is doing the same. Oh, so okay. So it has tested. So this is really an interesting story, right? Because you'd think that the path of least resistance for the SPY here would be that it would just go ahead and come back down and make a new low here. Right, because this is a very, very straight line. You can kind of see how this could be just a continuation down to the downside. But actually, it has broken back up through this 200-day moving average, right? And decisively so. It's gapped up. Now, 9 times out of 10, this gap is probably going to fill back to the downside. So just be aware of that. But ultimately, you're starting to see some very, very bullish reactions here in the biggest indicators in the market, which is the S&P index there and Microsoft. So also taking a look at the Dow Jones to see how it's reacting. Yeah, so huge gap up as well, and it is well above its 200-day moving average. It's been above that for a while now, pretty much through the entire month of November, and December. Obviously, and it's just going higher here. So putting in a new multi-month high here, that's good. That's showing some recovery here. So Tim, I would ask you, what are you thinking? Do you think that the market that this is just kind of a bounce, or do you think that there's some real forward-looking momentum here to the markets?
You gotta hold off before you get too bullish on this, but. It is important that this is happening. Go to my screen real quick. So I'm looking at the SPX, but of course the SPX and SPY are similar. This has been a zone of resistance, a line of resistance we've had for a while. We rejected on it a couple of weeks ago or a couple of days ago. We opened back up above that. And you're right that gap more than likely will be filled, right? But I'm wondering, potentially, do we not have to fill it until what we do is make a very bullish case for this? Do we come up and rally a little bit higher and then fill it coming down and finding support on that form of resistance and rally? We've already had this bullish momentum happen over on, which was it? The Dow Jones. The Dow Jones already broke through its descending level of resistance, now turning more into support. We haven't come down and touched it all the way, but I guess we touched it kind of right there. What I'm hoping for, we have not had it happen yet, but the NASDAQ would be the last one I'd like to see this. We're heading back up towards that level of resistance. This could be massive, not only for the stock market, but for crypto as well, because remember, one of the things that we're kind of monitoring right now is, a lot of people in crypto, they want to follow that 4-year cycle with Bitcoin and crypto and saying, all right, hey, we're going to actually be rallying here very soon. But if we're heading for a severe recession and we see the stock market continue to crash, then crypto might be, because it's the first recession we've ever seen, it might actually be time to break that 4-year cycle. But if we see the stock market, we see the SPY, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones begin to actually rally and break these levels of resistance, potentially we won't have a severe recession and that 4-year cycle will stay intact with Bitcoin, absolutely, and we'll move to the upside. But that is all we have for you guys today in the show. Again, it was a very packed show. We knew it was going to be that way. There was probably other things happening in crypto, but we only had time to look at 2 of the big ones, and they were big ones. If you missed any of the show, make sure you go back and watch it. In the beginning, we talked about the CPI numbers. We looked at some charts in crypto, and then we finished off the show by talking about this SBF arrest and what it means. Make sure before you guys go, if you have not already, subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. We are the Investing Bros, coming to you every single morning, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. We're a smaller channel. We're growing fast. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers. And I have a question for you guys tomorrow. You got to come back and check it out. I have a question for you guys tomorrow about what you think is going to happen first whether we get to a certain level of subscribers or we get to a certain level of watch time hours, and I'll explain why later. But make sure you guys hit that like button, comment below what you loved about the show, what you want to see us do in the future, and share it with your friends so that we continue to grow as a channel. We love each and every single last one of you guys. We will see you, though, tomorrow. Have a great day.